At New Year's, my cheating fiancée announced she regretted leaving her ex. To her, I was the safe bet, and he was the excitement. But when the boring fiancé and the wild ex teamed up, her entire scheme collapsed in front of everyone. Hey, Reddit! So this whole mess started on New Year's Eve when my fiancée decided midnight was the perfect time to say she regretted leaving her ex. In front of everyone. Yeah, that was the start. I, 27 male, stayed quiet that night, but what followed turned into something none of my friends saw coming. Let's just say, she thought she was running the game until the board flipped. New Year's Eve parties are supposed to be the kind of nights you remember for the right reasons. Laughter, music, people yelling the countdown like they're storming Normandy, then hugs and kisses when the clock hits 12. That's what I thought I was signing up for when Nancy, my fiancée, 26 female, insisted we host the perfect NYE bash at her apartment. We had all the decorations, stupid little hats, balloons taped to the walls, cheap countdown clock flashing numbers too fast. The whole deal. I thought it was going to be one of those nights where everyone left happy. Turns out it was a night I'll never forget, but for the exact opposite reason. About 15 people crammed in, my brother Jack and his girl, Nancy's siblings Ollie and Stella, a few of my college buddies, and her work friends. Everyone laughing, yelling, trying to talk over the playlist blasting in the background. Nancy was glowing in that blue dress she loved, bouncing around making sure bowls of chips never went empty. I'll give her that. She knew how to host. Me? I was fine, just hanging by the couch, watching everyone get hyped for midnight. When the countdown started, the energy hit another level. People yelling 10, 9, 8, while shoving closer to the TV. Jack wrapped around his girl, Stella filming on her phone, everybody ready for the cheesy kiss at 12. Nancy grabbed my arm, leaned into me like we were about to be the perfect couple moment. Midnight hit. Fireworks on the screen, people screaming, "Happy New Year!" Couples kissing. I turned to Nancy expecting the same. Instead, she leaned right in my ear and said, clear enough for half the room to hear, "I'll never love you like I loved Casper." I froze. Thought maybe I misheard. Then she added, smiling like she was making a toast, "Sometimes I regret leaving him for you." You could feel the air leave the room. Stella's phone dropped a little. Jack's girl went wide-eyed. Even Ollie looked like he wanted to melt into the carpet. Everyone else was mid-kiss or mid-cheer, then realized something was wrong and got quiet. I didn't stand there like an idiot. I smirked. Wow, perfect timing, Nancy. Real classy. She blinked like she didn't expect me to answer. I set my plastic cup down on the counter, loud enough it clattered. Guess I know what my New Year's resolution is, I said, straightening up. Not marrying the woman who's still obsessed with her ex. That got a couple gasps. Jack's buddy actually choked on his drink. Nancy reached for me, stammering, "Wait, no, that's not..." I pulled my arm back. "Save it! You just announced to everyone here who you really want." People were whispering, avoiding eye contact. Some of them tried to start conversations again, but the party was cooked. Nancy stood there frozen, her lucky blue dress not looking so lucky anymore. I grabbed my jacket off the chair, nodded at Jack. "I'm out. Text me tomorrow." Nancy followed me to the door. It was just the excitement, the countdown. I didn't mean... I cut her off cold. You meant it. Drunk minds, sober truths, Happy New Year, Nancy, and I walked. The hallway was dead quiet compared to her apartment. I hit the elevator button, listening to muffled voices behind the door. She followed me to the door but didn't come into the hall, probably too stunned I didn't fight with her in front of everyone. By the time I got outside, Jack caught up, pulling his coat on. "Dude, you good?" I shrugged. "Better now than after the wedding." He shook his head, half laughing, half pissed. She really said that out loud. What an idiot. "Yeah," I said, pulling out my phone. "And the best part? Everyone heard it. I don't need to prove a thing." We walked to his car. Fireworks popped in the distance. Couples walking by holding hands. My New Year's kiss was basically my fiancée confessing she'd rather be with her ex. But I wasn't crushed. I was pissed, sure, but calm. The kind of calm that means you're already planning your next move. While other guys were stumbling home drunk, I was making mental notes. Step 1, cancel everything. Step 2, get the truth. Step 3, make sure Nancy never forgot the night she opened her mouth at midnight. So yeah, that's how my 2025 started, I was thinking. Guess I'm single again. Not exactly how I planned to kick off the year, but in a twisted way, maybe it was the best gift I could have gotten. At least the mask came off in front of everyone. I went to Jack's place the morning after the party. My phone was lit up like a slot machine. 23 missed calls, 12 voicemails, more texts than I bothered scrolling through. All from Nancy. Titles like, Please answer. I didn't mean it. We need to talk. Yeah, right. Jack walked out of the kitchen with 2 coffees, dropped one next to me. So, what's the plan? I took a sip, scrolled my phone like I was checking the weather. Step 1, I'm calling every wedding vendor we booked. Step 2, I'm done. He gave me a look. That fast? Bro, she nuked it at midnight in front of everyone? There's no... Maybe she didn't mean it. She basically put up a billboard saying Casper lives rent-free in her head. What am I supposed to do? Throw confetti and keep planning the honeymoon? Jack cracked a grin. Fair point. By 9 a.m., I was on the phone. Reception venue. Cancelled. Photographer. Cancelled. DJ. Cancelled. Florist. Cancelled. Every single one. Lost a couple deposits, sure, but the relief was worth 10 times the money. Each cancellation email I got felt like a weight dropping off my shoulders. Meanwhile, Nancy kept calling. Every time her name popped up, I just let it ring. Jack peeked over. You gonna answer eventually? I laughed. Why? So she can explain how her deep love confession for Casper was just a party trick? By noon, I had a stack of receipts and confirmation emails sitting in front of me. I snapped a picture of the pile and texted it to her with one line. Happy New Year, wedding's off, one more loose end, the house. We were under contract on a place in my name, with closing set for March. I made sure it stayed that way after New Year's. She called instantly. I declined it. A minute later, a wall of texts came through. It was the champagne. I wasn't thinking, I swear I love you. I typed back one thing. Congrats, you and Casper are officially the most memorable part of 2025. Go celebrate with him. Jack read it over my shoulder and whistled. Savage. Not savage, I said, leaning back. Just efficient. That night, I finally answered one of her calls. I told her straight up, I'm coming by to grab my stuff. She paused, then just said, okay. No begging, no excuses, which honestly felt off. A couple hours later, I showed up at her apartment. I'd spent enough nights there that I had clothes, shoes, and random things scattered around. My plan was simple. Get in, pack, get out. But of course, Nancy was waiting for me to yap about her BS, looking like she'd been practicing her speech in the mirror all day. As soon as I walked in with boxes, she jumped up. Please, can we talk? You're blowing this out of proportion. It was just a dumb comment. I cut her off. Nancy, dumb comments are like forgetting someone's birthday. You told an entire room you loved Casper more than me. Midnight, fireworks, first words of the year. That wasn't dumb. That was a confession. Her eyes welled up instantly. I was nervous. The party. The pressure. I didn't mean it like that. I tossed shirts into a box and shrugged. You didn't mean it, but it came out smoother than any I love you I've heard from you lately. Funny how that works. She grabbed my arm. Stop making jokes. This is serious. I pulled free. I'm dead serious. Jokes are for people who still care. I'm just pointing out the comedy in watching my fiancé self-destruct faster than the Times Square ball drop. She gasped like I slapped her. I stacked another box and headed for the door. You can't just walk away, she shouted. Sure I can. Walking away is easy when the person you're leaving already told you who they'd rather be with. She started crying harder. Big tears, shaky voice, the whole act. That used to get me. Not anymore. You know I love you, she whispered. I stopped at the door, looked back, and grinned. Nah, you love the stability. You loved that I had the car, the savings, the ring. But him? You loved Casper. And you admitted it. Congrats. You finally told the truth. I left her standing there in the living room. Back at Jack's, I dropped my stuff and collapsed into his couch. He poked his head in. You good? I smirked. Never better. It's like finding out your parachute has a hole before you even jump. Better now than splattered later. The next 2 weeks were comedy. Nancy tried everything. Calls from different numbers, emails full of paragraphs, even showed up at my office lobby pretending she was just dropping by. Security had to escort her out while she yelled, I love you, like it was a rom-com. My coworkers watched like it was free cable. Every unread message was a win. Every voicemail I deleted felt like hitting skip ad. She thought persistence was going to wear me down. All it did was prove I made the right call. Jack asked one night if I thought I was being too harsh. I shook my head. Too harsh would have been dragging her through the wedding and dumping her at the altar. This is me doing her a favor. Now she's free to go chase Casper without pretending I'm the love of her life. He laughed and clinked his soda against mine. Cold, bro. Real cold. Not cold, I corrected. Just done. That was it. The relationship ended the second she opened her mouth at midnight. Everything after was just paperwork and receipts. And honestly, watching her scramble and panic was better than any New Year's fireworks show. Every blocked number, every desperate email with the subject line, please. Every time she showed up where she wasn't wanted, it was all free entertainment. The more she begged, the calmer I got. But then the real bomb dropped. It was a Friday night, about 2 weeks after the party. Jack and I were sitting on his couch, half watching some basketball game, when the buzzer rang. He got up and let David in, one of my college buddies and part of our New Year's crew. He walked in carrying takeout and wearing the face people get when they know something you don't, and wish they didn't have to be the one to say it. "Bro, we need to talk," he said, setting the bags down. Jack glanced at me, then got up. "I'll give you guys space," he muttered, heading to his room. That alone told me this wasn't small talk. David sat down, rubbed his hands together. "So, Nancy," I rolled my eyes. "What? She send you a 10-paragraph sob email too? Number worse." He leaned forward. "Jenny was talking to Stella, right? Stella's been feeling guilty since New Year's. And she told Jenny something she shouldn't have." I raised an eyebrow. "Spit it out." David exhaled. "Casper never cheated on her? That whole story? Total fiction. She dumped him because he was broke. You had the new job and the car. She jumped ship to you and sold everyone this heartbroken victim story, so nobody would blame her." I sat there, silent for a beat. Then I laughed. Actually laughed. "So you're telling me I wasted 2 years playing therapist for a heartbreak that never happened?" "Pretty much," he said grimly. I shook my head, smirking. Unbelievable. I wasn't her boyfriend. I was the rebound crutch with a credit score. But David wasn't done. "There's more. Stella said Casper doesn't even know about you." That stopped me cold. "What do you mean doesn't know?" "She never told him she was engaged. According to Stella, she fed him some story that she was single and just needed space to figure herself out. He thought she was keeping her options open, not juggling an entire fiancé at the same time." I let out a low whistle. "So she was running the same con on both of us, telling me she was still traumatized by him, while telling him she was still in love with him. That's impressive in a twisted way." David leaned back, shaking his head. "She had both of you playing roles without knowing it. You were the safety net. He was the passion project. She was planning to switch teams whenever the timing worked out." The room went quiet except for the muffled game commentary on TV. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling, then let out a short laugh. "So I wasn't even plan B. I was like, plan 401k, the retirement option she kept until Casper made enough money to upgrade." David chuckled despite himself. "Exactly." I sat up, grin still plastered on my face. "Well, that changes things. I thought she was just a selfish liar. Turns out she's an Olympic-level scammer. And Casper? Poor guy probably thinks he's her long-lost soulmate right now." David frowned. "What are you gonna do?" I didn't answer right away. I walked to the kitchen, grabbed a soda, and popped it open. Took a sip, let the silence hang. Then I smirked. "I'm gonna find out how deep this rabbit hole goes. If she played me this hard, Casper has no idea what's coming for him. Time we compare notes." David looked half worried, half amused. "Man, this is gonna be ugly." "Ugly for her?" I corrected. That night I couldn't sleep. Not from stress, from excitement. I kept replaying the idea that Casper had no clue about me, how she had managed to keep two completely different lies alive for years, and how good it was going to feel to rip the curtain down in front of both worlds at once. I wasn't sad anymore. I wasn't even angry. I was locked in. This wasn't heartbreak. This was strategy. By Monday morning, I had already decided the next step. Franklin, the private investigator I'd been considering, was going to get a call. If Nancy could lie to both of us for that long, I wanted every receipt possible. And once I had them, Casper and I were going to sit down man to man. I smiled to myself, scrolling through her last unread message. "Please, I know I messed up, but I love you. You're my forever." I didn't even reply. Just deleted it and thought, funny. Casper probably got the exact same message last night. Watching Nancy scramble and panic was better than any New Year's fireworks show. But I wasn't satisfied just ignoring her. That was too easy. Someone like her doesn't stop until you slam the door shut with concrete proof. I wasn't about to give her room to twist the story later with, "You misunderstood," or "You overreacted." I wanted receipts that no one could argue with. So I called up Franklin, an ex-cop turned PI. The guy wasn't flashy. His office was a shoebox above a laundromat. But I'd heard he was ruthless when it came to digging up dirt. I handed over everything I had. Nancy's full name, her job details, Casper's info, their addresses, the Thursday late shifts that always felt off. Franklin flipped through it all, nodding like he'd seen this movie 100 times. "Give me a week," he said. 3 days later, he called. "I've got something you're going to want to see." I met him at a cafe near my office. He slid a manila folder across the table, fat enough to make me grin before I even opened it. Good news and bad news, Franklin said, sipping black coffee like he wasn't about to nuke my engagement. Good news, you weren't paranoid. Bad news, she's been running a full-time operation. First page, photos. Nancy walking into a hotel just outside the city, time-stamped 6:47 p.m. 15 minutes later, Casper walking through the same doors. 2 hours later, the two of them leaving together. Different outfits, different Thursdays, same story. He flipped through 6 weeks' worth like it was a highlight reel. I actually laughed. Every other Thursday? She schedules cheating like it's a dentist appointment. Franklin didn't laugh. And that's just the beginning. Next came the messages he'd pulled from her cloud backup. Her sister Stella had told me Nancy reused the same old password everywhere, and Franklin got in with it. Old ones from before she lost her phone. Reading them was like stepping into a bad soap opera. Nancy to Casper. You're the only one who ever really understood me. Nancy to Casper. I just need space to figure things out. I know our time will come. Nancy to Casper. I can't wait until it's just us again. She never mentioned me, never hinted at a fiancé, never dropped a word about a wedding. To Casper, she was playing the role of the tortured soulmate who just needed a little time before running back into his arms. Then Franklin pulled out another stack, texts she'd sent me around the same exact dates. Nancy to me. Thanks for being my rock. You're the reason I feel safe. Nancy to me. I know I get emotional, but you're the only man I can depend on. Nancy to me. I don't trust easily, but you've changed that for me. I shook my head, flipping back and forth between stacks like I was holding a script for 2 different plays. Unbelievable. To Casper, she's Juliet. To me, she's the damsel in distress. Same woman, 2 storylines, both pure garbage. Franklin tapped the table. She kept both ropes tight. You were her anchor. House, stability, the dependable guy. He was her dream, passion, romance, the one that got away. She was waiting to see which one looked stronger before she made her move. I leaned back, smirking despite myself. She's basically playing The Bachelor, but with worse production quality. Franklin didn't crack a smile. I've seen people juggle, but she's good at it. Casper has no idea you exist. She sold him the Zingle but figuring myself out line, and he bought it. That one stung more than I expected. It wasn't jealousy, just the scale of her manipulation. 2 completely different men, 2 completely different lies. And she almost pulled it off. I flipped through more evidence. Screenshots of calendar reminders she'd set for herself. Meeting. Work. At the same times the hotel photos were taken. Emails to me about being swamped at the office that lined up perfectly with her check-ins at the hotel. She had this thing structured like a part-time job. And the kicker? Receipts. Actual hotel receipts in her name. No shame, no caution. Just bold confidence that neither Casper nor I would ever connect the dots. I closed the folder, exhaled, then chuckled. So basically, she's been running a 2-man fantasy camp. I'm the wallet with stability. He's the passion project. She's the director, writing both scripts at once. Franklin shrugged. Pretty much. I gathered up the photos, texts, receipts, stuffed them back into the folder. Perfect. Franklin raised an eyebrow. Perfect? Most people aren't exactly thrilled to find this stuff out. I grinned. I'm not most people. Now I don't just know she's garbage, I can prove it. And I know exactly who needs to see this first. Casper, Franklin said flatly. Casper, I echoed. Because here's the thing. Nancy built her whole scam on keeping us in separate worlds. Casper thought he was the long-lost soulmate. I thought I was the savior boyfriend who helped her heal. Neither of us knew the other even existed. But now I had the whole puzzle laid out, piece by piece. She thought she could run this forever. She thought Casper would never know about me, and I'd never know about him. But she didn't plan on me digging. I left that cafe with the folder under my arm and a grin on my face. This wasn't heartbreak anymore. This was chess. And Casper was about to get his first look at the board. I called his company expecting to get brushed off, but the second I said Nancy's name, the tone changed. A pause then, hold on. Next thing I knew, I was speaking directly to him. His voice was steady, controlled, the kind of voice that usually means the person is used to being in charge. This is Casper, he said. I cut straight to it. We've never met. I was Nancy's fiancé. Silence. Thick, confused silence. Then, fiancé? What the hell are you talking about? Fiancé, I repeated, slow and deliberate. Almost 2 years. Wedding date set? Deposits paid? The whole package. And I'm guessing you had no idea. He didn't say anything for a long moment. Then, low and sharp, where do you want to meet? We picked a sports bar downtown. Neutral ground. Public, casual, no chance of things getting messy. When I walked in, he was already there. Tall, confident, wearing a sharp button-down, expensive watch on his wrist. He looked like the type who didn't need to try hard to get attention. I got it immediately. He was everything Nancy wanted me to believe she gave up. You must be... He started as I sat down. Her ex-fiancé, I said, cutting him off. Thanks to her New Year's Eve fireworks. His brow furrowed. She told me she was single. Said she wasn't ready to commit after everything I supposedly put her through. I slid the manila folder across the table. Yeah, about that. Go ahead. He opened it. First photo, Nancy walking into a hotel. Next photo, him, 15 minutes later. His eyes narrowed as he flipped faster. Then came the texts. His jaw clenched. He kept shaking his head like he couldn't believe it. She told me she just needed time, he muttered. Said she was figuring herself out, that we'd have our shot again once she was ready. I snorted. Yeah, meanwhile, she was playing happy bride-to-be with me. Picking flowers, tasting cakes, crying at wedding commercials, all while meeting you at a hotel like it was her side hustle. Casper barked a humorless laugh. You're telling me she was engaged this entire time? Yep, I said, leaning back. Engaged, planning a wedding. And to you? She was little Mrs. Someday we'll be together. She played us both. He sat back, rubbing his temples, then laughed bitterly. I feel like an idiot. Don't, I said. She's good. She gave you the soulmate script and gave me the stability script. You got the tragic romance story. I got the broken woman who needs saving act. Different scripts, same scam. He shook his head, flipping through another text. I'll always love you. I just need space. He looked up at me. She sent me this the same week she was probably sitting on your couch planning her wedding vows. I grinned. Yeah, she told me I was her rock that week. Guess we both got promoted to starring roles in the Nancy show. That cracked him. He laughed for real this time, shaking his head. Man, she's unbelievable. She's greedy, I corrected. Wanted passion from you and stability from me. Problem is, she underestimated how fast men compare notes when they stop fighting over a liar. We sat there for a beat, the weight of it sinking in. But instead of awkwardness, it felt almost liberating. Neither of us was the fool anymore. So, what's your move? Casper asked. I tapped the folder. We don't just walk away. We burn the script. Make her eat every lie in front of everyone she ever fooled. You, me, side by side. His eyes lit up, grin spreading slow. Now, that's the kind of plan I can get behind. We ordered wings and swapped war stories. He told me about the time she begged him not to give up on them, a week after she dragged me through engagement photos. I told him how she cried about trust issues that were supposedly his fault while sneaking off to see him. The overlap was so perfect it was almost funny. At one point, Casper pulled up a text on his phone. I can't wait until it's just us again. Date stamped 3 months ago. I pulled up mine from the same week. Thank you for being patient. I know I'm hard to love sometimes. We both laughed so hard people at the next table glanced over. Dude, Casper said between laughs. She was running 2 group projects and neither of us got the memo. Yeah, I said. We were the unpaid interns in the Nancy Corporation. By the time we finished the wings, the bitterness had been replaced with something better. Focus. We weren't enemies. We weren't rivals. We were 2 guys who had been conned, now holding all the receipts. When we stood to leave, Casper shook my hand firmly. She's going to panic when she realizes I'm out. She'll probably run back to you. I smirked. Let her try. This time she won't find a doormat. She'll find a locked door. And maybe a presentation. He grinned. I like the way you think. Walking out of that bar, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was about flipping the board on her. She thought she was the director of this play. Now, she was about to become the punchline. A month after the New Year's Eve meltdown, I sent Nancy a message to hook her. Nothing flowery, nothing dramatic. Just 7 words. We need to talk. I think I made a mistake. I knew exactly what it would do. She'd been hammering my phone, my email, even showing up at places she thought I might be. She lived for the chance to fix things. Within 5 minutes, she replied, Of course. Whenever. Wherever. I love you. Thank you. Hook. Line. Sinker. But the meeting spot? That was my choice. I told her to meet me at Il Giardino, the Italian place where I'd proposed to her. She would take that as a sign. In her head, it meant I wanted to restart the love story where it all began. In reality, it was the courtroom. I booked the same big round table where I'd once knelt with a ring. But I didn't tell Nancy that I'd also invited a few guests. Jack and his girlfriend, David and Jenny, Ollie and Stella. The same people who had sat there frozen on New Year's Eve when she dropped Casper's name. They didn't argue when I asked them to come. Curiosity and a little taste for revenge brought them. Everyone wanted to see how this played out. The night came. Nancy showed up 15 minutes early, of course. I saw her through the glass as I walked in. Blue dress, the one she always said was lucky. She looked nervous but also smug, like someone who thinks the ending of the movie is about to turn happy again. When I reached the table, she stood up like she expected me to embrace her. I stopped her momentum with a handshake. "Nancy," I said flatly. Confusion flickered across her face. Not what she expected, but she forced a smile and sat down. "I'm so glad you texted. I've missed you every single day. I know I ruined everything, but we can fix this. I'll do whatever it takes." I nodded like I was listening. The waiter poured water. I ordered the same bottle of Chianti we had the night I proposed. Nancy lit up, probably convinced this was a good sign. Then she noticed me glancing toward the door. "Why such a big table for just us?" she asked. "Because it's not just us," I said. Right on cue, the others started filing in. Jack and his girlfriend first, then David and Jenny, then Ollie and Stella. They sat down without a word, tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Nancy's smile collapsed. "What is going on?" I leaned back in my chair. "You said you wanted to fix things. Well, that starts with honesty, and honesty deserves witnesses." She blinked, frozen. I reached into my bag and pulled out a thick brown envelope, slid it to Jack. "Pass it around." He opened it, pulled out a stack of glossy prints, and his face said everything. Hotel entrance, Nancy walking in. 15 minutes later, Casper. 2 hours later, the two of them leaving. Date stamps clear as day. Jack passed the photos to the next person, who gasped. Nancy's voice cracked. "Where did you— Those are private." "Wrong," I cut in. "Those are lies with timestamps. September 15th, October 3rd, October 17th. Thursdays you told me you were working late. Funny, your job has a very different lobby than that hotel." Stella looked like she wanted to slide under the table. David muttered, "Holy shit," under his breath. I wasn't done. I pulled out a second envelope. More reading material. Inside were screenshots. Half to Casper, half to me. I read them out loud, one by one. To Casper, "You're the only one who ever really knew me." To me, "Thanks for being my rock. I don't know where I'd be without you." To Casper, "I just need time. Our moment will come." To me, "You're the only man I can depend on." Gasps around the table. Everyone looking between her and me like they were watching a car crash in slow motion. Nancy grabbed for the papers. "Stop this! You're twisting everything!" I pulled them back easily. "No, Nancy. These aren't twists. They're scripts. You had two. Soulmate script for Casper, stability script for me. You just didn't think we'd compare notes." Her face went pale. "Notes? You—" And then she froze. Because at that moment, the last guest arrived. Casper. He walked in calm, steady. His eyes locked on her, then flicked to me. He gave me the tiniest nod. Nancy shot to her feet so fast her chair toppled. "Casper, thank God you're here. We can fix this. You know I love you." Casper cut her off, his voice cold and clear enough that nearby diners went silent. "Love me? You lied to me about being single? Lied about me cheating? Lied about why you left? And now they all get to hear you were engaged this whole time." He didn't look at me. He looked at the table. "Engaged. 2 years," he said, letting it land. I nodded once to the table. 2 years. Wedding booked. Deposits paid. She kept him in the dark while she played me. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish. The table was dead quiet. Everyone's eyes were on her. The same people who'd heard her New Year's confession were now hearing the full picture, delivered piece by piece. Casper stepped closer, leaned in slightly. "You wanted passion from me and stability from him. You thought you could stretch it forever. But you forgot one thing, Nancy. Eventually, men talk." And just like that, he turned and walked out. Nancy crumpled back into her chair, shaking, whispering, "No, no," over and over. No one comforted her. Not her sister, not her brother, not even Jenny, who usually had sympathy for everyone. They all just stared at her like she was a stranger. I stood, dropped a few bills on the table to cover my wine, and looked her dead in the eye. "You ruined New Year's for me. I just returned the favor." Then I walked out, leaving her in the same restaurant where I'd once promised her forever. Except this time, all she had left was silence and disgusted stares. I walked out of Il Giardino without looking back. Outside, Casper was leaning against his car, calm as ever. When he saw me, he smirked. That went even better than I expected. I shrugged. She handed it to us on a silver platter. We stood there for a second, just letting the night air settle. Inside that restaurant, Nancy's world was collapsing. She'd tried to control 2 stories at once, and both had unraveled in front of her family, her friends, and the man she thought was her backup plan. Jack texted me as I got into my car. Bro, that was savage. Everyone saw her for what she is. Proud of you. It wasn't pride I felt, it was clarity. Over the next week, the fallout spread fast. Nancy tried damage control, of course. She messaged Jack's girlfriend first, begging for her to explain it was all a misunderstanding. She messaged David and Jenny, too, claiming the photos were old and the texts were taken out of context. Nobody bought it. They'd seen the timestamps. They'd seen Casper's reaction live. The act was dead. Stella, her own sister, stopped defending her. Ollie told Jack privately he was embarrassed to even share her last name. Her family group chat went quiet. The sympathy card didn't work anymore. As for Casper, he cut her clean, blocked her number, had his lawyer draft a letter warning her not to contact him again. He told me later she tried showing up at his office, and security had to turn her away. She looked shocked, he said, smirking, like she couldn't process that money doesn't erase betrayal. Meanwhile, I canceled the joint move and sold the place I'd closed on in my name. Title and mortgage were only mine, so there was nothing for her to touch. She got nothing. Not the house, not the savings, not the future she thought she was buying with her manipulation. The best part? The silence. For the first time in years, no constant drama, no guilt trips, no fake tears. Just peace. One night, Casper and I met up again at the same bar where we'd first compared notes. We sat back, ordered wings, and laughed about the whole thing. She really thought she could juggle us forever, Casper said, shaking his head. It's almost insulting how dumb she thought we were. She underestimated one thing, I said, grinning. That guy's talk. And once we did, the whole circus collapsed. We toasted to that. Nancy? Last I heard, she moved out of the city. Burned every bridge she had here. No friends left, family ashamed, reputation shot. She probably thought she'd find greener pastures somewhere else. But the truth? You can't outrun who you are. And me? I didn't just get closure. I got perspective. I wasn't anyone's backup plan. I wasn't stability on the side while she waited for passion. I was the guy who ended her little game once and for all. Walking out of that restaurant, I promised myself something. I'd never let another person waste my time like that again. No second chances for liars. No sympathy for manipulators. If someone shows you who they are, you believe it the first time. As for Nancy, she'll remember that night for the rest of her life. The night she thought she was walking into reconciliation at the restaurant where I once promised her forever. And instead, she left alone, exposed, and discarded. Revenge wasn't loud. It wasn't violent. It was calm, precise, undeniable, and it was perfect.